Today on Between the Dots podcast, Sens still on a losing streak. When will the suffering end? As no-win November continues for the Sens, the Leafs won 2 out of 3 of their games last week. Samsonov, though, goes down with an injury, leaving the Leafs on their third and their fourth string tendies. Plus, we'll talk some news off the ice as well. Should Auston Matthews ever fight? And could Ryan Reynolds possibly be the next owner of the Ottawa Senators? We got all that for you and more right here, right now on Between the Dots podcast. Let's go. So welcome, Between the Dots podcast, episode 7. Crazy that we are already on our 7th episode now. It's been fun so far. So to start, I want to just come in and say that I came in a little hot last week about DJ Smith, but I stand by all my comments. I think everyone in this business needs to face scrutiny. The NHL, and that goes for other sports leagues as well. They're billion-dollar industries, so there should always be pressure to perform. So people spend their money and their effort on these teams, so it's just frustrating to see an organization not making the moves that you feel are warranted, which is obviously what I was referring to last week.
Is Ryan Reynolds a move that you would like to see?
I would love to see that. I think that'd be great. He's the kind of smile that the Sens need around the rink, and maybe a change of ownership will bring on that pressure to perform as well. So we'll see.
So we're gonna move into a familiar segment that we've been doing every week with the week in and week out. I'm gonna start this week off with the Leafs, and let's just say it's been a good week. It's just funny how crazy or how quick it changes. Like last week, I was just like, this is brutal. They go out west and they lose to all these bad teams, and it was just, you literally think that the sky is falling. You see the teams that you got coming up, like Boston and Carolina and Vegas, and you get all worried because you're like, if it's bad now, what's going to happen when we play the good teams? But luckily for those Leafs, they started off last week with a 5-2 win at home against Philly. This game was interesting because, of course, after the game, there was Matthews had an incident there with Konechny, and Konechny comes behind the net and like hits him, and then Matthews goes back at him, and it's just like you're not going to hit me like that. And then Konechny tries to engage with Matthews, and Matthews sits there and laughs at him because they're up 5-2. He doesn't want to engage, and well, I mean, I get it. If I'm Auston Matthews and I'm scoring 60 goals a year, I'm not going to let someone just try to pull me into a fight. Like, I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with it.
That's fair. I agree with like the idea that your superstars shouldn't be your fighters, and like guy scores 60 goals. The issue I had with that was like he's getting his teammates to fight his own battles for him. So I'm sure we'll get into that more later. But Johnny T had that sick goal that game too.
Yeah. We'll jump back into that later, like you said. But yeah, huge night for Tavares, 4 points, including a hat trick. Vintage Johnny T night in that 5-2 win at home against the Flyers to get the week going. Then on Saturday, they had a big tilt with the Bruins. I think the Bruins only had 1 loss at this point when they came into Toronto. Toronto ended up coming out with a 2-1 win. Matthews had both goals for the Leafs, and they didn't get out of it unscathed though because they lost Samsonov. Marchand came down on a penalty shot and scored, and Samsonov tweaked something. He ended up finishing the period, but he didn't return for the third. So Shalgren came in, shut the door there. It was good to see him in a close game be able to hold it for the boys. So they pulled off a big win, and then the next night they were in Carolina, another tough matchup. These are ones not where I like to use the term like scheduled loss. Like you play at home the night before. The team you have to travel to is just waiting for you at home. They don't even play on Saturday. Like, you're expected to go in there. Like, obviously you want to win, but it's like when you look at the schedule, you think, okay, Carolina at home, they get a night off. Like,
yeah, that was a tough back-to-back. That's a tough back-to-back with it being like 5 p.m. the next day too. Like, thank goodness they had the time change that night for daylight savings, because that was a quick turnaround for them, but good for them for still getting it done.
Yeah, so luckily they went in there, pulled out a 3-1 win. Shalgren had 29 saves. I'm not sure if he got on the score sheet or not, but Dennis Mulligan actually looked really good in this game. He was on a few different lines. Sheldon Keefe was moving him around a bit, but he's a smaller guy, but when you notice him, every shift he's out there, just buzzing around. He's got good speed, and he's just hounding the other team's defenseman. Like, it was a really good game for him.
Yeah, and then, I have a question. What's it like to win a game? I'm just curious. I forgot what it's like. So
if you asked me that last week, I wouldn't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But they're doing pretty good. They wrapped up the week on Tuesday night with a 4-3 overtime loss to Vegas. This one was tough because it kind of puts a damper on the winning streak, obviously, with it coming to an end. But with Vegas coming in, they're a good team, and I think they won 7 in a row coming into this one, so they're up there in the standings as well. But it was a tough game for Shalgren here. He gave up, I think it was 4 goals and 20 shots. Like, he wasn't great. Mind you, he stopped about 5 breakaways, so you can't really fault him there. Marner had a good game. Liljegren comes back in, scores 2 goals. That was good to see. When the Leafs have issues on the blue line and a guy steps in and scores a couple, that's obviously very, very encouraging. But just the breakdowns, like especially the one in overtime. Like, I found watching that there was a lot of circles, a lot of stops and starts, and I guess in 3-on-3 overtime there is a lot of that, because you want to keep your speed, and it's almost like basketball. Like, cover a guy, you go for it, and then you move to the other end, and you kind of wait for them to lose possession again. But I saw a stat that Matthews, Marner, and Riley, when all 3 of them are on the ice in overtime together, they've been outscored 8-1.
Really?
So
that's surprising.
With the 3 of them on the ice. So you think,
wow,
if Matthews got a goal, he wasn't out there with Marner and Riley or whatever, but they give up a lot in overtime. It makes you wonder, like, should it be Matthews and Marner with Brody out there? Maybe try to get a more defensive defenseman. But all in all, good week for the Leafs. They're now sitting at a 7-4-3 record. So hopefully they'll keep that going into this week. How was the Sens week? Even though I know the answer, but I'm excited to listen to it anyway. So,
Sens week was pretty bad, but good for the Leafs, like you said, this week. And when you get too high for the Leafs, I'm here to bring you back down to earth. And when things get too low for the Sens, you're here to lift my spirits a bit, hopefully. So, this week for the Sens, it was a really busy week actually for the Sens in terms of news and also in terms of disappointment. So going into the week, we were 4-5, and we ended up losing all 3 of our games. So we're now sitting at 4-8. We're 30th in the entire league, and we are dead last in the Atlantic right now. So Sens need to pick it up. But first game of the week was on Thursday, November 3rd against the Vegas Golden Knights. The Sens were home for that. Result was a 5-4 loss. So the positives in that game, Giroux, Stützle, and Tkachuk were all great. Sanderson had a point. The positives was just that this offense is able to score goals. Like, now, if we could just keep the puck out of our net, that'd be great. So, we left Forsberg just hanging out to dry in this one. He got pulled early, and Cam Talbot had to come in for relief, and Cam Talbot stopped all the shots he faced. But at that point, it was too late to rally for a third period comeback, and almost did, but we didn't deserve it. Yeah, we didn't deserve it. Back, though. Yeah, it was good to see Cam Talbot back. Did not deserve that game, though. So on to the next one was Saturday, November 5th versus the Flyers. Another home game again for the Sens. This one, another really tough. This was a 2-1 loss. The Flyers were coming in on a 3-game losing streak, and Sens were coming in on a 4-game losing streak. So naturally, being no-win November for the Sens, we had to lose this one. And not a lot of positives in it for Ottawa. It was Giroux's first game back against Philly, and he scored in it. But overall, it was spoiled with this loss to a struggling Flyers team. We were 0 for 5 on the power play, and Zaitsev just looked awful in this one. And after the game, people on social media were calling for DJ's head at this point in the season. I don't know if you saw anything regarding DJ Smith and him being fired. Like, just people were all over him, and rightfully so.
Yeah, it's tough with those games because were those all 1-goal losses?
They were, yeah. It seems like I think 13 of their games this year have been by 1 goal or 1 goal plus an empty netter. So 1 or 2 goals.
That's almost more defeating than getting blown out, because you think you're there, and then you the whole game you're like, okay, we're here, and then you lose, and it's like, oh, and then the next game it happens again. But
yeah,
I mean, it's tough. Good that they're in games. It's just be nice for them to pull some of those off with a win.
Yeah, I agree. And people were saying about DJ Smith after that game, just like, like, why are you playing certain guys? Your systems aren't working, and rightfully so. Like, we should be asking those questions, because at the start of the year, the organization was promising us as Sens fans that we aren't going to have a slow start this year, and yet here we are sitting at 4-8 on a 6-game losing streak. And I know we've had injuries to, like, Josh Norris and Zub, but there's no one being held accountable. The players are extremely frustrated in their interviews, and of course that's when Pierre Dorion feels it's the best time to say that, yeah, DJ's not going anywhere. So we're stuck with DJ, and it's whatever. It is whatever, because this team needs a spark, and it's obviously not going to come from a coaching change. So I still don't think DJ's the right guy to take us where the Sens want to be. And same goes for other Sens staff too, like the assistant coaches. Like, they are the ones that run the power play and penalty kill, which was just abysmal this week. And like, they've faced criticism before too. I don't know if you remember back to when that taxi cab incident happened with the Sens players, where they were like, our penalty kill is a joke. Like, so they're under fire too. And then also just like the GM, like Pierre Dorion, like, he didn't address one glaring need this offseason, which was the defense. And clearly that's been an issue so far this year. So, and we kind of expected that a little bit too, but I mean, that could be why we're losing these games by 1 goal, because like, our offense is good enough to keep us in games, but our defense is so bad that they're letting us down. And it's like, that's maybe why all these games are close. And if we could figure out the defensive side of things, maybe we'd see some more success. Because, like, defense is huge if you want to make runs late in the season too. Like, you need to have good defense. So our third one was on Tuesday, November the 8th versus Vancouver. The final game of the week was a home game. That one, 6-4 loss, another awful loss to a non-playoff team. I had to shut this game off with 2 minutes left in the third because I couldn't bear to watch anymore. It was bad. So.
Your boy Nikita out there on the blue line.
Yeah, so I don't know why he was playing in all the games this week, which is very questionable considering that the Sens do not have a win with him in the lineup. They were 0-7 with him in the lineup, which is an insane stat. But positives about that game was the offense was, again, they were doing their thing. They scored 4 goals. Bernard Docker and Sanderson both had a point that game. And these guys are just going to keep getting better and better. And DJ Smith, these are the guys that we need to have in our lineup on a nightly basis for the Sens defense. Like, these are guys that are going to grow and improve. So another positive, too, was Ryan Reynolds being shown on the TV, and like, they were just showing his reactions to everything that night.
It's tough to pull the positives out of a week like that for the Sens, but like we know, it's a long year, so you got to hopefully rebound in the upcoming week. And
that's right.
If you wanted your playoff prediction to be right with them getting in there, they're going to have to pull some wins together.
That is right. That they will. So that was their 6th straight loss. And again, they're all close games. We're not getting blown out, but it's because our offense is keeping us in it. And yeah, our record's now 4-8, 30th overall in the standings. Teams like Montreal, Buffalo, Detroit all have better records. So, but like you said, pulling the positives out of a bad week. I mean, we're in a little bit of a hole now. There's still time to to get out of it. Obviously, the season's not over, but this is a huge wake-up call. Maybe the players need to call a players-only meeting or something. But, it was nice this past week to hear that the Sens, they're for sale, obviously, but finding out that they're going to be staying in Ottawa too after the sale of the team, and hopefully maybe we'll have Ryan Reynolds too, and a consortium of owners, possibly including like Alfredson as well and Chris Phillips, just to bring back maybe some winning culture to the team, because it's sure not there right now, and it hasn't really been since 2017. So since Chris Kunitz scored on us in double overtime of the conference finals. So it was a rough week, but like you said, trying to focus on the positives. So
a little Sens thing that I heard, and I'm pretty excited to see, is that I went to school in Flesherton, Ontario, where Chris Neal is from, and I saw that they're going to retire his number 25. So that's pretty sweet. He was a Sen through and through, that's for sure. Always going to battle for his teammates, and that's good for him to see them retire that.
Yeah, it was. And some people were like, "Why are we retiring this guy? Like he wasn't a great player." Like, no, this guy was an absolute warrior for the Sens for over 1,000 games plus 95 playoff games. Not to mention he had over 100 goals scored, and he's the Ottawa Senators' all-time leader in penalty minutes, with 2,522 penalty minutes. So this guy, so this guy probably has more stitches wearing a Sens uniform than Ilya Samsonov has wins in the NHL right now. So completely deserving.
Do you remember that game in the playoffs when Neal was getting scratched for a couple, and then I think it was a home game, and they put him back in the lineup, and he went on the ice, and the place went nuts.
Yeah, completely changed the momentum, and like
it's funny when you think about players like back in the day with those Sens teams, like the other team would know, okay, Alfredson's on the ice. Like you would always know when Alfredson's on the ice. You'd also always know when Chris Neal's on the ice to keep your head up. Like that guy, like he might not bury the goals on the power play like Alfredson would, but you definitely kept your head up when he was out there.
Yeah. So I might be having to try to grab some tickets to that jersey retiring game on February 17th. So that'll be good to see. So well deserved.
For sure.
Yeah. So Leafs won 3 out of their 4 games last week. What do we got coming up for them this week?
So on Friday, November 11th, Remembrance Day, they've got a game at home to the Penguins. The Penguins are on a bit of a slide right now, but when you see on the calendar that Sid and Malkin and Letang are coming to town, you always know it's going to be a good game regardless. So hopefully they can get ready for that one. And then the next night, November 12th, they're home to Vancouver, another team that's struggling. They pulled off a win in Ottawa, like you mentioned, but they're another team where it's tough to know their direction. Like they just signed JT Miller, but now they're going the other way. They're paying Travis Green as well as Bruce Boudreau right now. So they don't want to go out and get another coach. Like they got their GM or president just like calling the coach out. Like we didn't have a good camp and we haven't been good ever since. I'm not sure if you heard any of that at all, but that's tough for them. So hopefully the Leafs can win those. And then on Tuesday they go to Pittsburgh. So after having a home game against the Pens, they go there and hopefully they can win at least one of those 2. But it would be nice to take both games against Pittsburgh. But it'll be a good week for them.
Yeah. 2 games against Pittsburgh, so see lots of Crosby and Malkin next week.
Yeah, and it's tough with obviously the back-to-back and having Murray and Samsonov both injured. Mm-hmm. You're not going to play Shalgren on a back-to-back night. You wouldn't even want to do that, but they're going to have to potentially see if Petruzzelli would get in for his first NHL game. But there's been talks that Murray could be ready by the weekend, so we'll have to wait and see on what happens there for the goalies.
Yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye on that this week too as well. For the Sens this week, they have 3 games as well. First one is Thursday, November 10th versus the New Jersey Devils. That's an away game. The next one is on Saturday, November 12th versus the Philadelphia Flyers. That's another away game. And the last one on Monday, November the 13th versus the New York Islanders. That's going to be a home game as well. So another thing worth mentioning for this week coming up is Zaitsev is going to no longer be in the lineup. He was sent down on waivers today. Hopefully this is the last time we'll see of him. Let's go. That is addition by subtraction right there, baby. And I just wish this day had come sooner. Nothing against the guy as a person. He just looked like he could have been playing men's league this year and not in the NHL. So
I don't even know if my men's team would want him. My men's league would want him.
Probably not, to be honest. Like, Pierre Dorion obviously has seen enough as well, and he can't trust DJ Smith not to play him. And it smells like kind of a bit of a warning shot that Pierre Dorion sent to DJ Smith, because the Sens weren't even at their player limit. We could have kept Zaitsev on the roster. It's not like we had to make a choice and send him down. Like, we weren't at our limit, and we chose to send him down. So to me, that's Pierre Dorion saying, listen, if you're not going to keep this guy out of the lineup or play him properly or whatever, I'm going to send him down, and you're not going to have the choice. So adios, Zaitsev. Also, adios to Hellberg. He was also sent down on waivers. Thanks for the memories, Hellberg. We got Talbot and Forsberg back in the pipes, so hopefully now we can get rolling that Zaitsev's out of the lineup officially. And yeah, fingers crossed that good things happen this week for the Sens. At this point in time, it's get back on track from here, and we got to play our game, dictate the play, and play some team defense. Like, help our goalies out, not turn pucks over, lock it down, and then our guys on offense will take care of it. So, and that starts with Shabbat and the defense, but it's team defense, so centerman included, wingers not cheating in their own end, helping each other out. If I'm the players, like I said, maybe I'm calling a players meeting this week to try to get us back on track, because that's what we need to see. And we cannot keep dwelling on these losses, and we can't get into too deep of a hole, or else we're never going to get out of it. So fingers crossed this week they can pull it together and end this no-win November, because we want to see our Canadian teams do well, right?
Yeah, for sure. And especially like you were saying, like, I know where they are in the standings now, but if they have any hope in playing games that matter close to the end of the season or getting into the playoffs, they gotta start winning. Because it's always tough to make those games up at the end of the year when everyone's pressing and everyone's trying to win. So hopefully they can get back on track.
Yeah, and it'll start this week, hopefully. So what we're talking about now, we're going to do some report cards for both the Leafs and the Sens. Kijo's going to start us off. He's going to give his grade on the Leafs after 14 games, how he felt that they've done, and then I will give my grade, and then we will do the same vice versa for the Sens.
It's tough when you look at the last week, like I mentioned, how they went out west and they were just brutal, so you'd think that obviously goes into the grade, and then they play this week where they were phenomenal. It's a season of ups and downs, but so far to start, I think the Leafs deserve a B-. It's good to beat the good teams, but when you're a good team and a playoff team like the Leafs want to be and want to have success, you got to beat the bad teams. Like, you can't be losing multiple games in a row to teams that you should be beating. It's good, like I said, to beat the Bostons and beat Carolina, because come playoff time you'll be potentially matching up with those teams, so you'll hopefully know how you beat them in the regular season and potentially how you could beat them in playoffs. So to B-.
I think that's still fair. I know we got a lot of loyal Leafs listeners out there too, and I'm curious as to what their thoughts are on grades are on how the Leafs have done so far this year. But for me, I'm giving them a B+. And the only thing holding me back from an A- is exactly what you just mentioned. It's just like the losses against the teams that aren't very good. But I've liked what I've seen so far this year still from the Leafs. I'm not saying that it's good enough to win a playoff round, but despite injuries to the goaltending, which was kind of to be expected, right? Like, people were naive for not expecting that Matt Murray and Samsonov would be able to go together over 82 games. But despite those injuries, the Leafs have still managed to put together wins in 7 out of 14 games, plus they have had 3 OT losses. So, like, they've still been solid, and a lot of good things from guys like Tavares, and the offense quite hasn't clicked yet. So if it does, then, good things could come on that side of the puck. But they're playing good defensively, and despite the goalie injuries, they're still playing solid hockey. And so for me, it's a B+. And Yeah, I think there's still room for improvement, though. That's for sure as well.
It is really tough with the goalie injuries. Like, I don't care how good the team is. If you take their number one or number two goalie or both
On
out
any
of the
team.
lineup, like,
Yep.
how good are they going to be? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough because Shalgren's arguably their fourth goalie because Wall was supposed to be the third. Like, you're playing with your fourth goalie right now. Like,
yeah, fourth and fifth.
They're doing
Fourth
pretty
and
good
fifth.
considering.
Yeah.
Fourth and fifth. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, exactly. They're doing pretty good considering all that. Like, it would be easy to point the finger and just fall apart because of that, but I'm giving them credit for holding it together still, and still room for improvement as the season goes along, though, that's for sure. On the other side of things, for the Sens, there's plenty of room for improvement. My grade for them is D-, and that
D-. Hey, they're passing.
exactly, barely enough to pass. All right. The only thing that's holding me back from giving them an F is the fact that that the Sens have 4 wins, and that we've just finished, hopefully, sending Zaitsev down for the last time, and now we can start to put together our best lineups possible. But it's been a really bad start to the year for the Ottawa Senators. It's guys get hurt with Norris and Zub. We are exactly where we said we didn't want to be at this point in time, with a losing record 10 games into the season. We are in a hole, and now it's up to the players to pull it together. And hopefully, DJ's the guy that we're going to be stuck with, so by the looks of it. So it's up to the players in that room to really come together. And we can tell this team is really good offensively. The goals are there on most nights. It's just a matter of keeping the puck out of the net, buying into a good team defensive system, and figuring out ways to win those close hockey games that we keep losing. And it's just D-. And yeah, it's barely passing.
You're not going to like my answer, but they're not passing in my books. And I'm giving them an F. They're 30th in the National Hockey League right now. Like, it's tough because
lay it on me. Come on.
The players are good. They have the good players. Like, it's honestly a lot of this, like you've said time and time again, is the coaching staff. Like, there's just so many things that are like inexcusable with like Zaitsev in the lineup. Like, every night you're 0-7 with him playing. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And like the assistant coaches, if it's not working on the power play, the penalty kill's not working. Yep. Switch something up.
Yep. DeBrincat, we haven't unlocked DeBrincat's full potential yet, even, and that's partially because of coaching as well. You could point the fingers at a lot of different things, so we don't fail kids anymore, but we can be sure to fail the Ottawa Senators. So yeah,
I'm not even a Sens fan, and it's frustrating to watch it because that they can just that there's so much more there, and obviously with every team with the injuries, it's tough because if they lost Talbot right away and you take out your second center with Josh Norris, like you remove him from the lineup, like and replace him with Brassard. Like It's just, you can't expect to be as offensively like powerful, but you still you can't be 30th in the National Hockey League. No, you got to be better than that.
They are better than that, and they need to start showing it. So hopefully they do that soon, because you can't dig yourself a deeper hole than what they're already in. Like, it's hard to come by wins in this league, so they need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out fast.
Maybe they could get Neil in the lineup for his jersey retirement night, get the boys going.
He would not be afraid to fight if he was in the lineup. So can he play defense too? Because we need that as well.
Might have to see, but speaking of fighting, I think that's a good segue into what we're gonna get into now with the next segment.
Yeah, so we're going to take some one-timers here. It's where we each just shoot each other a question and we give our thoughts and opinions on it. So my first question to you, directly related to fighting, is, was Auston Matthews wrong for not fighting against Travis Konechny in the game against the Flyers?
I don't think he was at all. Like I said, if I was Auston Matthews and I scored 60 goals a year and somebody came up to me and got in my face and was just trying to throw me off my game, like, why would you engage with him. If Connor McDavid came up to Matthews and wanted to go him, I think that's a different story. I mean, I would consider that if I was Matthews, and it's tough for an opinion question for me, because if I was the size of Auston Matthews and Travis Konechny comes up to me, I would like Auston Matthews to engage there, but I don't think he should. It would be good for all the fans watching and everything, and it's a dream if your leading goal scorer could also come out, drop the gloves, and fight anyone. But with Matthews, that's not the case, and yeah, I don't think it should be. I mean,
no, that's fair. Real quick, like my thoughts on it as well too. We actually disagree on this completely. By the way, I'd pay to see a Matthews versus McDavid fight. That would be epic. But
yes,
it would be crazy. But those hands were not made for fighting for either of them. But I still disagree. I think that because Matthews was instigating that, like he was the one that
didn't instigate it.
He was whacking.
He started it.
All right, so Konechny gives him a bump. Matthews gives him a whack back. They give each other a couple whacks, and then in comes flying from the point 39-year-old Mark Giordano, who's worked for everything he's come for in this league, and in comes flying Michael Bunting, and there's Matthews sitting back, laughing. And to me, it's just like, I've seen that before, and I saw it when they were up 3-1 to the Montreal Canadiens in a playoff series, and he's there and he's laughing, and it's like, man, like, quit laughing and stick up for the actions that you're basically, like, this things that you're getting yourself into. That's just me, in my opinion, on regardless of whether you're a goal scorer or not. Like you said, he's a big boy. I'm sure he could handle himself if he did get into a fight. So do it. Like, fight. You're causing all these, like, this huge scrum late in the game, and then he's and it's like, it makes you wonder, like, I wonder if his teammates are ever thinking, like, oh, like, there he goes again, like, getting himself into, getting everybody riled up, and he's just laughing kind of thing. Like, just throw him down. Let's see it. This is hockey. Let's see it.
I get it, but I think if I'm Michael Bunting and I'm riding shotgun with Mitch Marner and Auston Matthews, I will do whatever it takes.
For sure.
To stay on that guy's line.
For sure.
If you got to fight anybody. If I'm Bunting, I'm sticking up for him. Same with Giordano. If you're gonna go anywhere in the season or in the playoffs, you're not gonna do it without Auston Matthews.
For sure. And those guys are right for sticking up for him as well too.
I got a fun one for you, kind of out of the blue.
All right, let's hear it.
Is Thomas Chabot overrated?
That's actually a really good question. I've been thinking about that a lot myself lately because of his play this year. It's been pretty subpar, if I'm being honest, and critical of our defensemen that we're paying more than $7 million a year. It's been subpar for that value. And there's talk of him always maybe being an Olympic caliber defenseman. And it's just been rough this year. I mean, there was one giveaway he had this past week where, I kid you not, he made a tape-to-tape pass with the other team out front of his own net, and the other guy just put it right in the back of the net. It's been bad at times this year, and honestly, Jake Sanderson is our best defenseman this year. You watch the games, Sanderson is getting more comfortable. He's starting to make some really nice rushes, and when he fully gets in his comfort zone, he'll be our best defenseman, and it's not going to be Chabot. So I think people this year are maybe starting to see that maybe it was the 25 minutes or 27 minutes a night, more than that in past years, 28, 29 minutes a night, sometimes even more than that if it was in overtime. So maybe that's wore him down. But that's a good question. Is he overrated? For the way he's playing this year, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. He has been overrated, especially with the way he's playing this year. Do I think he's still got that offensive potential, though, and can maybe get back to it? yes, he's just got to figure out the defensive side of things. Like, quit with the lapses in your own end and the turnovers at your own blue line. Like, he turned the puck over at our own blue line. He's been turning it over at the offensive blue line. He's just been turning it over, and that's just not good enough for a guy that's making more than $7 million a year.
Yeah, I think with a player like that too, if they're having those turnovers and those defensive lapses, you want to be able to be, okay, he's turning the puck over and the other team's scoring, but if he's generating enough offense for you to, like, for you, you're obviously going to want to worry about it because you don't want to be giving up chances and goals against. But if he was putting up big numbers offensively, you'd think, okay, like, we can deal with this right now. But it's, yeah, like you said, like, he's not even putting up big numbers, and he's not your shutdown defenseman. So like, what is he for all that money? What is he?
Yep. And like, you made a good point about scoring on the offense to make up for the lack of your defensive ability. And one guy who there was never a question about that when he was an Ottawa Senator, Erik Karlsson. He would have defensive lapses, but holy, would he make up for it on the offensive side of the puck. He was dynamic, and he was our best forward, and he wasn't even a forward. So Chabot, we thought maybe he could get there. No, he's not going to get there. He doesn't have that. So it's tough to see, like, a guy we're paying that much money not living up to the expectations. So kind of leads actually right into the next question I was going to ask you. So I've got to say, I've been impressed with the play of the Leafs captain this year. I know he has had some down years, and there's been a lot of talk about him and whether he's been worth the money that Dubas gave him. So my question is to you is John Tavares living up to expectations this year?
John Tavares is exceeding expectations this year. When you sign these contracts, I think we even talked about this in previous episodes, but when you sign these contracts, the back half of them, they know they're not going to be good. They're signing them knowing that, okay, hopefully in the first few years he can be worth it, and we know we're going to pay him more than he deserves in the last few years. But he has been, the Leafs would not be where they are this season in terms of, like, they were struggling at some points and now they're hot again, but they would still be struggling if Tavares wasn't doing what he's been doing.
Yeah.
He's their captain. Obviously, I know Matthews and Marner aren't young anymore, but guaranteed they're still looking up to him, knowing he's been such a good player in the league for so long. And it's when you're the captain, you can see, especially in Toronto, when everyone's talking about you, like, Tavares is slowing down. He's slowing down. He's not the player he was before. He was never an exceptional skater, but he puts the work in the off season, and it's clearly paying off with how he's playing. And I think what he does on both sides of the puck, he will continue to be a good player in this league for more years to come as well. But this year, for sure, he has exceeded my expectations for him.
Yeah, got to give him credit. That's for sure. So,
do you think that there's any chance that the Sens could still make the playoffs?
I do. I think they need to figure it out now. They're only 4 games below 500, okay? And obviously, being 500 isn't good enough to be in the playoffs. You need to be above 500, as we've seen last year with every single team in the Eastern Conference having 100 points getting in the playoffs. It's very difficult to make the playoffs. You need to be better than 500. 500 is a baseline starter. It's not good enough to get in. So they are right now essentially like 6 or 7 games below where they need to be, at least. And they need to make that up, and it's got to start, we got to start the trend of, this is our identity. We need to come together defensively and let our offense do its thing and figure out how to win these close games, because we're close every game. We just got to figure out how to lock it down and string together some wins. Like, we had that little run, and now it's 4-8. And it's just, we had a little run at the start where we won a few games in a row. Now we're 4-8. And it's like, we just got to string together some wins. But I do think it's possible, because like you even alluded to a little bit today, you said like the potential is there. This team should be doing a lot better than what they're doing. Even with a guy like Norris and Zub out, they should still be doing a lot better than what they're doing. And they're in close games every day. It's just finding the way to stop a few of the goals and the turnovers from happening, and then end up on the right side of the score sheet. So it's got to start this week, though. We can't wait much longer, and like, who knows, maybe next week we'll be sitting here and the Sens still won't have a win in November, at which point then the season is looking even more bleak, and playoffs would probably be out of the question by then. So like, it's time to get points. Like, all these points count the same at the end of the year, so let's get some points. So, and it's got to start now.
Yeah, no, it's good you still got confidence in them. I mean,
I don't know how confident I am, but...
Well, you gave them a D-, and you still think they're going to make it. So yeah. You got faith, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Let's pull that grade up to a B, hopefully. We'll see. We still have shown signs of what we can do. It's just a matter of we need to put it together now. So we'll see what they can do. Speaking of like the rest of the year and how things are going to go, Samsonov obviously going down to an injury against the Bruins on Saturday, and Matt Murray already being hurt. So now the Leafs being on their third and fourth string goalies. I'm just wondering, do you think this is going to be an issue come playoff time?
An issue with the injuries or the performance from the goalies?
Injuries, because their performance hasn't been actually all that bad. Like, Samsonov's done really well when he's been in between the pipes. Like, Murray was okay. So I'm more so the injuries, and then if injuries happen, will that be an issue too? Because like Shalgren stepped in too and done a decent job, but like obviously playoffs, everything becomes a little more, emphasized.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of goaltending issues like around the league, and I know we're talking about injuries, but with performance as well. Like, if you even look at Calgary with Vladar and Markstrom, like, they haven't been good. Their combined save percentage, I think, is 22nd in the league or around there. And with the Leafs, it is really tough how quick Matt Murray got hurt. I mean, like, if he could have made it even like a quarter of the way into the season and then he got hurt, like, he got hurt so fast. Where it's like,
and he's going to get hurt pretty quick when he comes back, too. You just watch.
That's what I mean. It's like he couldn't – he didn't even give himself a chance. Like,
that's what it
and
is.
The game with the Montreal game where he wasn't exactly stellar. So, like, I am a little bit worried to see that if the Leafs, like they have been for the past few years, if they're actually serious about doing damage in the playoffs and getting over that hump and getting through the first round, you got to have quality goaltending, and your goaltending, you got to rely on them to be healthy as well. And I think we might see something like we did a few years ago when Dubas went and signed Riddick to have a third goalie, because you can't. Shalgren's been good. I mean, he's filled the void while the other two haven't been playing, but if he's your goalie for a long period of time or in the playoffs, I just don't think they'll be able to have success. So I am a little worried about where their goaltending is right now. What do you think?
Interesting. Yeah, I agree to an extent. Like you said, they've done a good job coming in and filling the void, but come playoff time, your weaknesses get exposed. And whether it's like a weakness on defense and you can't keep the puck out of your net, or you're losing like the close games because you can't keep the puck out of your net, or maybe whether it's a weakness in goal and you can't let in bad goals in the playoffs. Like, there's no room for that. So we'll see come playoff time. But yeah, the Leafs are looking like they're going to be there, unlike the Sens. So I was really hoping for a first round matchup between our two teams, and fingers still crossed that it does happen. But we need to see some improvements first from Ottawa. I got one more question for you. This one's kind of an interesting one. It's more of like a trivia question, though, not an opinion question, okay? So, Cal Yarncrow, he has 4 consecutive consonants in his name, all right? The last name spelling is Jarnkrook. So he's got 4 consonants in a row. Name another NHL player that has the same number of consonants or more in their name.
You know the answer for this, obviously?
Yes, I do. I got a few of them. So think there's a current Leaf that has it. Think guys who are Swedish.
Liljegren. No.
I don't think
not Liljegren.
No, not Liljegren. We've said his name so far. Shalgren. That's the one I was thinking of. So that's the current Leaf the other current Leaf that has 4 in a row. And there's actually only like a handful of guys in the league that have that. So like there's another former Leaf too, Andreas Johnsson. He's got so many S's in there that is 4 consonants in a row. And then there's actually a few guys with 5. There's Olivier Bjorkstrand. He's got 5 in a row. Jacob Markstrom. He has 5 in a row. And then another honorable mention. This is crazy. There's a player on the Philadelphia Flyers named Tanner Lazinski. And easier pronounced than spelt because he has 6 consonants in a row in his name. It's the way you spell Lazinski is Lazynski. Lazinski. So, shout out to him for having 6 consonants in a row in his name.
Just a quick one off the top. What's your all the guys in the NHL? Who's got the best name?
Oh, I'm going with Roman Josi. I love
Roman.
I love the name Josi. Roman. So he probably deserved a Norris last year too. Guy was shafted having over 90 points and didn't get the Norris Trophy. Losing to Cale Makar though, so a worthy opponent that he loses to. Cale Makar also another good name too for guys in the NHL. But yeah, I love Roman Josi.
Yeah, that is a good one.
How about you? You got one?
Probably. What's his first name? Arbor or something? Arbor Jack guy?
Arbor. That is a good one. Mr. Wi-Fi.
That one's just funny.
Yeah, that one is funny.
No, that's a good one. But my favorite one would probably be
Willie Nylander.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Nice. That is a good one.
That one.
That is a good one. You're going to name your kids Marc-Andre Kajowski.
Marc-Andre Kajowski. Let's go.
So, we're going to do a little Saturday night special where we make 3 picks, give you a little parlay for who's going to win come Saturday night. And so far, we are 0 for 2 with this, but this week we picked all winners. So, and we're not missing this one.
No, this one's going to hit 100%.
That's right. So, first game of the parlay, New Jersey Devils over the Arizona Coyotes. We like that one. Devils are at home. They've been good so far this year. Coyotes, they've obviously had their struggles being under 500 right now. We expect Devils are winning that night. Second one, Vegas Golden Knights over the St. Louis Blues. Vegas Golden Knights are home that night. Blues have been off to a bad start. Vegas obviously has been really good so far. And final one, Boston Bruins over the Buffalo Sabres. That one, Boston is on the road for, but we still like them. Buffalo's played well so far this year, so maybe we can expect a little bit of a regression for them in the coming weeks. And Boston, we expect them to kind of keep it rolling with Marchand back in the lineup now. So yeah, those are our 3 picks. I don't know if you want to comment on them as well.
Yeah, no, like you said with the Boston Buffalo game, Buffalo has been good, but Boston's looking really strong. They're getting healthy, and New Jersey's been rolling, and the Coyotes are the Coyotes. So
Yep. So there's your locks, your Saturday night special. So be sure to gamble responsibly. And yeah, be sure to get those picks in. So that's a wrap for episode 7 of Between the Dots podcast. How many wins from the Leafs are we thinking this week, Kijo?
Out of the 3 games they got, 2 against Pittsburgh, 1 against Vancouver, I think they're going to win 2 of them.
Nice. Well, the Leafs exceeded your expectations last week, so maybe they can exceed your expectations again this week.
Let's hope so. How many games the Sens winning this week?
I'd be happy with 1 at this point. We'll see what happens.
I mean, you got to start somewhere.
That's right. Got to start somewhere. So we hope, everyone who's listening, we hope you enjoy your week. What's coming up for us? We have Christmas episodes on the way. Our 10th episode as well, just a few weeks away. We'll keep you posted on any new developments that happen throughout the week as well, and things that we got in the works as well. We'll keep you in the loop. As always, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to share the videos, like our podcast if you're listening, and feel free to chat or comment on any of our posts or videos. But yeah, thank you so much. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Like Fouch mentioned, we love the comments, we love the likes, the shares. They all mean a lot to us, and we are already looking forward to next week.
Oh yeah, big time. Looking forward to next time. So we'll be sure to see you then. Go Sens,
you
go.
Get that flag. It's not working for you. You got to put it away.
It's gonna work this week.
Go Leafs, go baby.